Well, after over a month-long summer break, we are back racing with 3 rounds to go in the Euroformula Open 2024 Championship. We arrive at Spielberg for round 6, 4.326 kilometers, 20 laps, 30 minutes max around this circuit here in the Styrian Mountains, and the championship is starting to unravel. The rain now starting to arrive. We've been waiting for it with bated breath, and I can tell you that the wet tyres have been put on the cars. You can see the downpour now. But first and foremost, let's check out the highlights from last time at Paul Ricard. And it wasn't a good start at all for Brad Benavides, who did not get away very cleanly at all. But a big battle as well on part of Francesco Simonazzi and Levente Ravesh as they made their way around the latter sector through the Bousset. But Jakob Bergmeister was also setting the world alight in his own right. Massive scraps happening further back. Fernando Barrichello also coming into it too, but Benavides managed to successfully dispatch him. But it was Bergmeister, I should say, celebrating the opening race at Paul Ricard. They went racing again, and this time was the turn of Paolo Brajnik to lead the way, heading through towards turn 1. He had a sea of cars in behind, all looking to take it away from him. However, Brad Benavides also looking to try and bounce back after the stall on the line as they got away in race 1. He came back, though, fruitfully in race 2. Around the Bousset he went and started to move up the order in a bid to become a race winner once again, which he so promptly did, taking the checkered flag. Yet another win went his way. Third race got underway as well. It was a great start for Levente Ravesh. We had then Fernando Barrichello further back in second, trying to hunt him down. Then Brad Benavides also down in third. Eventually, Benavides would tackle Barrichello coming through Bousset once more. It was the centrepiece for most of the overtakes heading through the course of racing action at Paul Ricard. It went the way, though, of Levente Ravesh, who stood on the top step and celebrated a long-awaited victory. This is how the Drivers' Championship looks. 321 points for Brad Benavides. The Floridian is 91 clear of Francesco Simonazzi in second. Levente Ravesh in third place, with Jakob Bergmeister in fourth. So the rain... So with the rain continuing to come down, the drivers now make their way around all the formation lap. We'll take you through the starting grid. Jose Garfias in his maiden weekend in the Euroformula Open Championship takes pole. He lines up on the front row alongside Brad Benavides. Edward Pearson also maiden start in third place, with Francesco Simonazzi alongside him on the second row. We head down then to the third row. Fernando Barrichello lines up in fifth, with Michael Shin on his return in sixth. Paolo Brajnik then in seventh, with Levente Ravesh starting from grid place 8th. So the cars are making their way around the circuit. As we said, the rain continuing to fall here during the course of the formation lap. As you can see, it just peppering the camera lens as well. And this is something we've been waiting for. Many saying it would arrive at 2 o'clock. And Chris, the drivers have responded.
Yeah, it's still not incredibly wet in certain parts of the racetrack. They might have to nurse those wet tyres ever so slightly. So the spray was not fantastic in the back end of the circuit, but the rookie, Jose Garfias, with another rookie starting just behind him, championship leader in between the two of them. This should be a very interesting race. Levente Ravesh lining up at the back of the grid, having had too many lap times deleted after qualifying, so we'll have to start there for race 3 as well. But for now, we await the lights to get race 1 of the weekend underway.
Yeah, Francesco Simonazzi's father waiting with bated breath as well to see how the Italian stallion gets on. The marshal now waiting in the wings to wave the green flag, and we'll get underway. There it is now, and here come the lights. All 5 lights are lit, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Not a great start at all for Jose Garfias, and that allows Brad Benavides to take the lead straight away here in these wet conditions at Red Bull Ring. Simonazzi going right between the 2 motorpark cars in behind as well. Garfias has had an appalling start. He's dropping down through the field. Edward Pearson as well coming into this one too, and Fernando Barrichello further back, but it looks like a car's got it all wrong at the tail end, Chris.
Yeah, it's Garfias who really struggling to get it off of one. I think he's got some sort of problem on that car because he's crawling around at the moment. So it is championship leader Benavides, as I think that is Ed Pearson, in 95, who just got squeezed out there on the way into turn number 3. FIFO Barrichello there in the blue and yellow car trying to get involved in the action as well. But a typical first start in the Euroformula Open Championship, which are harder cars to get away from the line than some of their counterparts, with a proper race car clutch. But unfortunately for the pole sit, after such a sensational qualifying for the Mexican Jose Garfias, it looks like his race is going no further than turn 1.
He qualified 4 tenths faster than Brad Benavides coming into this race, but unfortunately, qualifying did not help him in race trim. He is now pulling over to the side of the track, and obviously the rest of the drivers are going to proceed onwards. Still green flag conditions as the weather continues to plummet downwards. It's not harming Brad Benavides one iota, and Francesco Simonazzi, who loves these conditions, he thrives in the wet, likes to get the tail out on his BVM Dallara 320, and now sends it coming through turn 10 once more. We have quite the scrap happening further down as Edward Pearson tries to close up on the tail of Lavrenti Ravesh as they now make their way down through towards turn 1. There is Simonazzi as well. I should say it's Michael Shin in third place, as well as now Pearson and Ravesh now come wheel to wheel once more. Pearson also qualifying very well for his maiden stint and jumps ahead of Lavrenti Ravesh coming out of turn 1, but back comes Ravesh, the Hungarian, finding the inside, switch back out of turn 1, found the leverage, heading up through towards turn 3 and takes the place back.
Yeah, but there was yellow flags there, George, for Garfias' stricken car. So did he get that move done before the yellow flag or in the yellow flag zone? I'm sure that's going to be looked at. As Paolo Brajnik out of the race as well, with potentially some problems with the NV Racing car. So then there were 6, with Benavides leading by 1.7 seconds to Simonazzi, top 2 in the championship. And then Michael Shin, race winner in some of his wildcard appearances so far this season, back with us for this weekend. And Ravesh holding on to 4th ahead of Pearson for now, with Barrichello in 6th.
Great to be back here at the Red Bull Ring. Of course, it opened up for us back in 2011 for the GT Sport organisation. It's been sporadic, of course, as visiting back here year on year, but we have now welcomed it with open arms in recent campaigns, and certainly as long as I've been commentating the championship, certainly back since 2022, we've seen many great moments, and one of which included Francesco Simonazzi's first ever Euroformula Open win that wasn't actually decided on track. It was decided in Parc Fermé. Well, he found out about it in Parc Fermé, I will say, after a penalty was given out, and it was such a big weekend for Francesco, who had been waiting so long for that first victory, and eventually when it came, it was an emotional moment, and I remember him standing tall with the Italian national anthem bellowing out across the circuit of Red Bull Ring. As now once again it's Ravesh and Pearson coming together. This is going to be a fascinating battle over 4th.
Yeah, so the yellow flags at this part of the racetrack have now been rescinded, and so racing can take place all the way across now. And so we'll see if Pearson, the young Brit joining us from the GB3 Championship, will be able to get underneath the Hungarian Lavrenti Ravesh, who's in his 2nd year now of the Euroformula Open Championship. Joined us halfway through last year's campaign, ended the season with a win in Barcelona, just scored his 2nd win last time out in Paul Ricard. See if Pearson, obviously potentially planning for a move higher up the ladder, maybe trying to get some experience in a Dallara chassis for a potential move into FIA Formula 3 in the next couple of years. Of course, Pearson and Garfias are 2 rookies for this weekend, saying the same thing, that this car is an absolute joy to drive, but that doesn't mean it's easy. They've been doing a lot of prep, and now look at Michael Shin getting a great run here on Simonazzi, going into the Jochen Rindt curve for 2nd position. But the 2 rookies, they've been running different rain levels in the simulator, prepping for this exact situation, really, as it continues to rain out there. I'm sure conditions are only going to worsen as the race goes on. So the battle for 2nd place heads back up to turn 1, with Michael Shin, the South Korean, who has done a part-time campaign here in the Euroformula Open this year alongside his Eurocup 3 campaign. Heading back up the hill towards turn 3. Now that little new stretch of tarmac there, I'm told, is pretty treacherous. You know, ever since they put the MotoGP chicane in there and they repaved the tarmac in the middle, in the wet conditions, that is really slippery out there. So I'm sure the drivers will be keeping an eye out and on their toes heading back up to turn 3.
Yeah, and just takes the friction away and obviously doesn't allow the tyres to grip onto the circuit when, of course, you do apply that level of paint on the track, and naturally makes it slippy at the best of times, especially with the weather now coming on top of it. But the gap's now starting to close between Ravesh and the 23 belonging to Michael Shin in 3rd spot.
Yeah, but Benavides is leaving them all for dust. He's the only driver in the 37s. Everyone else is on the 39s on that last lap. So the Floridian's flying out there at the moment. Although, having said that, just lost a second in the middle sector. So maybe had some sort of skirmish that we didn't quite capture. But certainly building a very healthy advantage out there as Simonazzi comes under pressure from 3 motor park cars behind, Shin, Ravesh and Pearson.
Speaking to the drivers, obviously through the course of the day since qualifying, they all said consistency goes out the window when, as far as rain is concerned, and that's exactly what I think Benavides experienced there. 1 purple first sector, and then the last 2 sectors weren't exactly up to much, and therefore forfeiting a bit of time, even though he was 29.6 in sector 3. He wasn't the fastest, however. I would say, well, actually, he was the fastest in that last one. Edward Pearson did get close with a 29.901. That was a personal best for him too, as we see a lot of swapping further back once more as the cars now collectively come through turn 3. Levente Ravesh still being persevered, but this time the 95 of Edward Pearson. Of course, these two were fighting at the very start. Ravesh managing to take the place back after Pearson managed to get the move done coming out of turn 1, but it was on the outset leading up through towards turn 3 where it would go Levente Ravesh's way as they peel down through towards turn 4. Simonazzi now faced with an abundance of cars. Michael Shin, of course, nurturing, or should I say, pulling together his first race win back at Hockenheim Ring in race 3. And since then has persevered. I got to see him in the paddock earlier on, and it was great to see him return. He was beaming, big smile on his face as we watch once again Francesco getting the tail out, as he loves to do.
He's so good at that, isn't he? But Michael Shin was having his own moment there, and then it swapped ends on him. Gathered that up very nicely with the 19-year-old. You can spot Michael Shin with he's got the white wing tips on his car, the front and rear wing. Ravesh has got the red on him, behind him. And then Pearson behind has got the blue roll hoop on top of his car and the black wing tips. If you want a handy dandy little spotter's guide there. And again, Pearson getting a good run here on Ravesh for 4th position, side by side going into the first corner. Now he's not going to go around the outside, but he's going to come underneath him because Ravesh went very deep into the first corner, and that ended up being a very easy move for Pearson.
Yeah, one of the youngest drivers on the grid at 17 years of age, and coming in from Guildford in the UK, and has taken part in Ginetta Juniors back in 2021, as well as British F4. On top of that, GB3 campaigns, and now moves into the Dallara 320 chassis here in the Euroformula Open Championship. And obviously, you never know. We could be seeing these drivers once again take to the circuit next year. Of course, getting some mileage in prior to the start of the 2025 Euroformula Open campaign, where we'll be with the new Dallara 324 chassis, the Toyota engines as well alike. So a little bit of extra speed. And on top of that, I'm sure more fun for the drivers. Let's take a look here at the move. Fantastic there from Edward Pearson. Switchback coming through turn 1. Ravesh could do nothing about it.
So Ravesh locked up his front brake. Look at that slide there from Pearson as well. It's lovely. But yeah, Ravesh just got in too deep into the corner, locked up his brake, and Pearson with a clean line just went, cheers. Easy.
Smooth as you like.
Up
cool,
into
calm.
4th position.
Cool and calm and collected by the young man from the UK. As I said, only 17 years of age. Coming down now in towards the final bend. A little moment there from Michael Shin.
And for Pearson behind, there's a lot of water in that runoff area now. They're really starting to struggle. And so make a mental note of that. And then next time around, I'm sure they'll be sticking to the asphalt a little bit more.
Yeah, might have to search for at least some sort of a drier line. Simonazzi coming through turn 1. Still being persevered by the cars behind. 5.1 now between Simonazzi and Benavides up at the top. You can just see the spray coming off the back of Benavides' car, just entering shot in the background. Of course, it won't be too much of a concern right now to Simonazzi, because, of course, it's only if he gets close enough to Benavides to experience it sprinkling onto his helmet. Again, taking a more middle line, heading through in towards turn 3, whereas others have dared to go wide. There's his father waiting in the garage. Of course, BVM have been the sole outfit tackling motor park this season, done a great job, obviously doing their utmost to try and brings Simonazzi to the front end in a bid for a title challenge. There's Fernando Barrichello coming into this as well in the distance, closing up on Levente Revesh. But more to come, has to be said. I mean, also for Jose Garfias. I mean, after a stellar display in qualifying, he's got to reassess ahead of race 2 tomorrow, Chris.
Yeah, but of course he'll be starting from 8th because the
Top
result
6
of
reversed.
this race is what determines the starting order for race number 2 with the top 6 reversed. So if we were to take it now, it would be Barrichello on reverse grid pole with Revesh on the front row of the grid. Benavides would be 6th, but of course Brajnik and Garfias would still be starting 7th and 8th. And so he'll have a little bit of work to do. Hopefully all will be well aboard his car for tomorrow's racing because he was ferociously fast in qualifying. We want to see what that kid can do. He's clearly got a fair bit of talent underneath him to just hop into this car and stick it on pole position for the first time of asking. See Simonazzi still soaking up that pressure from behind. It has very much been about Benavides and Simonazzi in terms of the race wins. So far this year, they've taken the majority of them, but we've also seen Lorenzo Fluxer, Gerard G, Michael Shin, Jakob Bergmeister and Levente Revesh take a single win apiece. Of course, Michael Shin ended his debut weekend in the Euroformula Open Championship in Hockenheim with victory, and he's had a few podiums since then, Spa and in Budapest. Wasn't with us in Paul Ricard though, but with us this weekend, and should see him out again before the season is out. And of course, no Jakob Bergmeister this weekend. We haven't really talked about that. The young German not finding the funds for this weekend. Sadly, he does have plans to return for the next round in Barcelona, which of course is a great shame for somebody who last time out did just take his first win in the Euroformula Open Championship. So we do hope to see young Jakob back in the championship next time out. And of course we round out the season in Monza. So Barcelona in just 2 weeks' time, and then Monza on the 19th and 20th of October, where we will crown a champion, which at the moment is looking very much like it'll be Brad Benavides.
Well, I mean, if he puts in a big run this weekend, then that could all but place him in the prime seats for victory in the championship as soon as Barcelona, really. And at this point, Edward Pearson registering in that last lap, a purple first sector, as you now watch wheel-to-wheel action once more. This time, once more with Edward Pearson, this time on Michael Shin on the run-up towards turn 3. Pearson not with quite enough leverage to make it through turn 3, but might get the run heading down towards turn 4 if he can stay in the slipstream, but it's going to be very tricky with the spray coming off the back of Michael Shin's car. Shin covering off the inside, Pearson going to the outside. Will he go late on the brakes? Shin goes later on the brakes, coming in towards the right-hander at Slosh Goal. Both of them running it a little wide, just carrying the speed, obviously finding a little bit more grip to the outside of the circuit, but Shin doing enough to keep Pearson behind.
So Pearson, remember, he qualified that car in third, and now trying to go for the podium after a difficult first lap. And again, they are skating over the rumble strips on the outside of that curbing. It's just getting wetter out there, I think, by the looks of it. The lap times have come down slightly, but of course you're finding confidence in these conditions, but the rain isn't really letting up at the moment. And so you see again Pearson just having a swapper over that rumble strip, and it was a very good catch indeed. It hasn't really cost him any momentum to Michael Shin though, has it? No, he's still tucked up right behind the South Korean.
He was purple in the first sector as well in the last lap again, and a personal best in sector 3. He's lapping in the 29.5s, whereas opposed it's 30.065 for Michael Shin as we now watch Francesco make his way up the hill towards Remus. In behind them we have the two motorpark cars belonging to Shin and Pearson, who are now making their way up the hill. This time Pearson looks to the outside and more than has enough car alongside Shin this time, but the question is, will he have enough coming out of turn 3 down towards turn 4? Shin goes a little later, tries to cover off the apex, will struggle, and Pearson I think might have got a better run. Brilliant effort there from Pearson, and Edward Pearson now into the podium spots, reclaims that third place that he lost from the start of the race. And like he qualified, he now races in P3.
Shin lit up those rear Pirellis coming out of turn 3. they're not necessarily on the wrong line, because you can get good momentum on the outside there, and I'm pretty sure both sides of the circuit there are pretty well rubbered in after the plenty of racing we've had so far today between the single-seaters and the GTs. And so that just gave Pearson that clean run out of the hairpin down the straight and reclaims that third-placed spot. I wonder, can he go off to Simonazzi in the last 10 laps of this race when we cross the stripe? Meanwhile, Benavides 7.8 seconds to the good now over Francesco Simonazzi. And obviously we were talking about Jose Garfias a lot after qualifying because he put it on pole, but Pearson was pretty special as well.
Yeah, what we
qualifying
said,
third.
I mean, third place in a maiden weekend, I think, is a huge feat. Benavides in the last lap, setting the fastest lap of the race as well with a 1:36.881. Simonazzi crossing the timing line 1.5 seconds away now, and Pearson's closing the gap. He did a personal best lap in the last one, and he's 3/10 faster in that last one as well. Near enough 3/10 better as Pearson goes on the attack for second.
They're really hugging the right-hand side of the pit straight, like to the point where they're almost in the wall. So that's a curious one, but here comes Ravesh now trying to make a move on Michael Shin. Does the dummy, finds himself the inside line for turn 3. That didn't work for a couple of drivers last year. We had some late drama there, but for Shin, he is able to hold it out around the outside. Didn't slide the car on the exit so much that time around, and so does manage to hold one on over the Hungarian. But Pearson's not exactly pulling away from this battle, George.
No, he's not. Still faster than P2's Simonazzi, though, at the moment. Though in this first sector, actually, it's Simonazzi who's faster than Pearson. But in the last lap, it was Pearson with the personal best and the faster lap. But let's wait and see what this next one does. We've still got 10 laps to go here in this race. And Benavides still out and clear. 8.7 seconds and looks in a good spot to take first place points here at Red Bull Ring once more. Because like I said, only once has he appeared off the podium places so far this season, and that was back at Hockenheim in race 3. Every other race has granted him a podium finish as they now come across the line again. It was a 1:38.1 last time out for Brad Benavides. It's a 1:38.401 for Simonazzi. He was slightly faster than Edward Pearson by approximately 37 thousandths of a second. So Pearson lapping relatively close to what Francesco is right now.
Yeah, but again, the gap is still growing out the front, but it is pretty even Stevens behind them, as you say, down to 1/10 of a second. As Barrichello's rather joined the party as well. He was actually the quickest, other than the race leader last time around. So he's closed up onto the back of Ravesh. And it's still Ravesh trying to make a move on Michael Shin. Looking down the inside into turn number 4, but no way through. So Shin hanging on to 4th position. You see Simonazzi again wagging the tail of the BVM racing car, this time under braking. And the undulations here, that does make conditions like this a bit of a nightmare, because of course it all sort of pulls around here, where you reach the bottom of the hill and then start heading back uphill again.
Yeah, Pearson faster than Simonazzi by 71 thousandths in the first sector, and he's faster again in sector 2 by a good 2.28, just over 2 tenths. In fact, very nearly 3 tenths quicker out of sector 2. So it's looking like Pearson now is just focusing on what's in front of him. The gap now only 1.1. And it might have come down again coming out of sector 3 as we now watch them cross the timing line. And indeed it has. It's a 1:38.148 from Pearson in that last lap, and it was a 1:38.6 from Simonazzi in that last lap. So a good 5 tenths, a half a second difference in terms of lap time. And now Pearson is going on the attack, and it won't be long before he gets slipstream.
Well, look at Ravesh here. He's drawn alongside Michael Shin, I think, just through the spray. There he goes to the outside of turn number 3. He tried to sell the dummy a couple of laps ago, and again looked like a lock up there for Ravesh, not for the first time in this race. It gets a bit of an up and under, so it does have some momentum, but Shin recognises that almost immediately and chops the nose of his teammate. So try and keep him behind. We'll see when we go into turn number 4 this time. Still Shin hanging on despite little wobbles from both of them, the little catches and little moments that you have in these sorts of conditions that probably missing 90% of them.
Another look up the inside again from Lavesh, but it's just trying to fire off warning shots here, maybe just to try and throw Michael Shin off a little bit, but it's proving to be a little bit of a tricky job. I think Shin is just focused really on what's going on ahead, but maybe just throwing the odd cautious defensive manoeuvre just to try and keep the Hungarian in behind. Still, it's Simonazzi kicking up the spray. The last few sector times, once again, this time favouring, well, it favoured Simonazzi in the first sector, not quite so much in sector 2. There was about 1.5 tenths between them coming out of the second sector, and now Pearson is well within a second. He's well within 9 tenths. So Pearson now with a great chance to perhaps even grow from starting P3 on the grid to maybe taking the runners-up prize here in this first race of the Red Bull Ring weekend.
Well, that certainly would be a way to kick things off in your Euroformula Open campaign. They're snaking so much out of turn 1. It's brilliant. It's going to be some fantastic slow-mos by the end of this race. Right, how many attempts is this now for Levente Ravesh? 7,000, I'm counting. As now tried to find himself the inside line that time for turn 3. Shin was having none of it. Barrichello, I'm sure, is going to try and pounce on this one as well. And if you're tuning into Euroformula for the first time, that is Barrichello, is in Rubens Barrichello, his son. Ravesh is being so aggressive at the darting left and right. He's really just trying to fill Shin's mirrors, but I've noticed this before with Michael Shin. You can't throw the kid off. You know, he could be caught in an absolute whirlstorm and his heart rate would still be at about 60.
Probably says a lot more about Pearson's move on him, I think, heading into that third place.
Yeah.
Obviously getting the move done out of turn 1 and up towards turn 3, where, of course, he opened up the door. So it was clever from Pearson. And now he's going to look to try and bring the same attack down upon Francesco Simonazzi. But first and foremost, needs to exit out of the final bend. Brad Benavides already has. He's 10.6 seconds clear up at the front. And now cruising through towards turn 1 once more. All he has to do is focus on his own race right now in tricky, wet conditions, which certainly makes the job ever so slightly easier. Nothing's easy, though, where it comes to racing these cars. Obviously they are entertaining to drive. In any car, when you're in wet conditions, it's always a challenge. Pearson, half a second still, chasing after Simonazzi. We've got a big fight for second incoming. Yeah,
Benavides is still in this race, by the way, in case you'd forgotten about him. 11 seconds clear now. But yeah, it's funny because we've got such narrow front tyres, and it does mean it can be a slight challenge in the lower speed corners, like this one here. And in these conditions, everything's a bit lower speed. A challenge, but a fun challenge, one the drivers absolutely love. The conditions, they do look like they're getting a little bit worse out there now, as Pearson's really closed onto the back of Simonazzi now. It's just 2 tenths per second when they went through the timing loop in the first sector. And he's dragged Shin and Ravesh with him, so Simonazzi's suddenly going to have his mirrors full of motor park left, right and centre, the 3 cars chasing him.
Jose Garfias' car also being wheeled into the pit lane as well as it now moves its way to the garage. Obviously that car, remember, was out on the opening lap. Pearson just getting a little bit squirrely coming over the curbs as well. Obviously the wet weather making the curving a little bit slippery, and it's making the car dance a little bit. Michael Shin and Levente Ravesh following in pursuit as well as they head down in towards Jockenrink corner. There is Simonazzi taking this 5-car train down through towards the final corner. Again, a twitch from Pearson, who has a better line coming out of the final corner at turn 10. Now this could open up a few doors leading through towards turn 1, and Simonazzi knows it, opening it wide. Now comes Edward Pearson as they run up towards turn 1. A P2 in his first outing in the Euroformula Open Championship could be huge, but first and foremost needs to try and get past the Italian stallion, who shuts the door straight away, getting back onto the throttle once more. Pearson continues to go onto the attack. He's got Michael Shin, though, closing up in behind. Levente Ravesh also coming into this. Who's going to be the first to come out of the spray? Shin does, but can Simonazzi hold on to the top end? He drifts into the inside defensively. Further back, Pearson. Here comes Michael Shin as well, but does he get the switchback? Coming out of Remus corner, Pearson covers it off. Back comes Shin again, and he will have the slipstream coming down towards Slosh Gold, but will it be a golden move here for Michael Shin as he looks to the outside? These two have been dancing throughout the entirety of the first sector near enough. Shin going in later on the brakes, going through towards turn 4, cut off by Pearson, who now exits, remains in third. Effort from Shin, but here comes Ravesh.
Yeah, Ravesh trying to get on the outside now, trying to take advantage of that little moment there, and side by side through turn 6. There might be more grip on the outside. Shin again has a big swapper that does just about keep his teammate at bay. And so at the end of all that, not a lot actually changed, but it all sort of started when Pearson lit up those rear Pirelli tyres out of turn 1. I noticed the first thing he did, bang, the head went left. Check that left side mirror. Where is Michael Shin? Could barely see him in the spray. When he did pop up, he was challenging. And again, drivers struggling over the rumble strips. 3 laps to go. And Simonassi's really going to have to get his elbows out here, gets defensive into turn 1, because here comes Ed Pearson on the outside towards turn 1, trying to go for second place, swaps over to the right-hand side, can't beat the Italian on the brakes, but he can beat him into the first corner just about. Simonazzi has a big moment, but does stay ahead for now. But the rain is really starting to come down now, George. I think conditions are getting worse and worse out there. Might even see some complaining on this part of the racetrack, but again, side by side between Simonazzi and Pearson, this time going into turn number 3. Simonazzi parks it on the apex, but Pearson gets the drive out of the corner. He found the gap on the right-hand side, and the 17-year-old Brit does find his way through into second place.
Fantastic effort from Edward Pearson. He knocked on the door in the previous lap, but much like he did on the previous lap, he took turn 10 brilliantly, and he teed up the run very late. And I must say, some of it might have been traction coming into the corner, must have locked it up ever so slightly and opened the door for Ravesh, who peeled on through up the inside as the door was wide open coming through turn 4, and he just walked on through it. The Ravesh now up into 4th place.
I just need to clarify, I said Shin, because it was the driver who was going through there before I see anybody commenting away on that one. But yes, he had a very close moment there, did Michael Shin, going through turn 3. But this is the replay of the move from Pearson. Did he even get a bit of grass there? Because something got flicked up on the right-hand side, and that was, I think he did tag him. I think the front wing was just fluttering a little bit after he cleared Simonazzi, so he might have just tagged him ever so slightly, and Ravesh is through. Ravesh is through on Shin there, obviously, so that's Ravesh now in 4th. Can he get himself onto the podium now ahead of Simonazzi? We are going to go down to time because we've got 3 laps of the race remaining, but it's a 30-minute time limit, and of course the lap times are reduced somewhat because of the conditions. So this will be the penultimate lap of the race, I think. It depends where Benavides is on the track, but yeah, could be 2 to go. So we'll be 1 short of the distance, I think. When we get to the checkered flag, we'll see. Ravesh lines up Simonazzi. Can't get it.
There's a little bit of grass on the track.
Yeah, I think that was from Pearson. I think that was when he got the move done. That's how far across he had to go.
Yeah, but it did pay off for him, and now he's clear of Simonazzi in second by 2 seconds now, because Simonazzi more concerned, I think, of Levente Ravesh in behind, who has another look up the inside and looking to do something similar to what he did with Shin. Obviously, this time Simonazzi not going wide and not locking up, heading through towards turn 4. Ravesh is going to try and dance here around the outside, coming through Roche and Vert curve, and look at that from Levente Ravesh, the Hungarian, dead to dream. And didn't he just dream to succeed? He took 3rd place. He's on the podium now. Simonazzi has lost 2 places in the last few laps.
A big swapper as well there through turn number 8. Struggle just to keep it on the racetrack at the moment. Let's see if he can keep ahead of Michael Shin there as well. Simonazzi's, dropping a little bit. And again, a little correction through the last corner there. I'm sure almost every driver out there is going to be having some sort of wobble on what is now the final lap of the race. So 4.318 kilometers to go for Brad Benavides, who's 15 seconds clear.
Absolutely flying. Obviously not part of that big scrap that happened over 2nd place or even 3rd place, and it's allowed Benavides in these very tricky wet conditions to persevere onwards. Of course, it's been very much, I would say, a champion's drive at this point. We saw similar scenes from Ollie Goethe when he came here to Red Bull Ring 2 seasons ago. Noel Leon, of course, showing his class last season as well alike. So quite a few happenings in the last few years, and this championship has continued to develop young talent. But Benavides has seen there, he's been there, he's done it. He has taken part in F3, F2. He's here back again in the Euroformula Open as he was back in 2018, but now comes through the final few corners on this final lap, representing Team Motor Park, hailing all the way from Florida in the United States of America. So far, he's managed to amass 6 wins and an incredible 14 podiums through the course of this championship campaign, only once finishing outside of the podium places. But as he exits out of turn 10, he's going to kick off the Red Bull Ring weekend. He's going to make it 7 wins and 15 podiums. Brad Benavides wins here at Spielberg and opens up his account with 2 more races to go in great style. Edward Pearson, in a fantastic maiden drive, comes across the line, will finish second after starting 3rd on the grid, after making 2 fantastic overtakes on both Francesco Simonazzi and Michael Shin across the line. Levente Ravesh with that beautiful move around the outside, coming through the middle sector on Simonazzi as well, and he will take a podium after his last win being at Paul Ricard.
Fantastic stuff from Benavides. He now has as many wins this season as Simonazzi has amassed in his whole Euroformula career. 7 wins. Very impressive stuff. Oh, this is a last lap drama here for FIFO Barrichello. Had to skip through the gravel at turn number 7, but I imagine he'll pop through that little access road. Yes, he did. And so means to an end, really. He was 6th already, no one behind him. And so that means he'll start on reverse grid pole tomorrow. Yeah,
let's take you through the results, folks. Brad Benavides wins once more. It's victory here in race 1 at Red Bull Ring. Edward Pearson in 2nd, Levente Ravesh in 3rd place. Francesco Simonazzi in 4th with Michael Shin in 5th. Fernando Barrichello in 6th place. And we lost Paolo Brajnik and Jose Garfias right at the start of the race. And this is what it's done to the championship. Brad Benavides now crosses the 100 points mark. He is now clear of Francesco Simonazzi with Brad Benavides on 347, Simonazzi on 242, Levente Ravesh in 3rd on 226. The battle for 2nd place is certainly not over. Jakob Bergmeister down in 4th with Barrichello down in 5th. And first points here for Edward Pearson, who amasses 18 at the bottom. But coming into Parc Fermé, and these moments taste all the sweeter, whether you finish 15 seconds clear or 5/10 clear or even 1/10 clear. Does not matter.
I think it's a bit more sweet when you do 15 seconds like that. Dominant performance.
Well, it was a great display, but victory all the same, no matter the cost, the price, the effort. It's beautiful. And that's exactly what Brad Benavides is thinking. The Floridian stands at all. Once again, 7 heaven for Brad Benavides, for the Motor Park team, who I'm sure are absolutely thrilled with that. 15 podiums in total. And he'll enjoy that one. Though a great display as well from Edward Pearson on maiden with the GB crash helmet as well. And that will mean a lot.
He should be very proud of that. That was fantastic. Faced with very difficult conditions, of course, with the wet weather. And, of course, after his first race start as well, where we said at the first lap of the race, it is a little bit more complicated preloading the clutch and whatnot, because it is a proper, carbon clutch on those cars. And so we do see drivers tend to get the first one wrong, but then they pick up on it pretty quickly. And, of course, we saw him struggle on that first lap a little bit, but beyond that, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, brilliant display. Levente Ravesh would come across the line in 3rd place after dancing around the outside of Francesco Simonazzi, heading through Roche and Verth Curve. Brit Edward Pearson in his first maiden start from 3rd to 2nd. He will stand tall on the podium for the first time on debut, but no one could stop Brad Benavides. 15.6 clear, coming across the line, his 7th victory, and he'll be standing by with Alfredo.
Brad Benavides, winner race 1 Red Bull Ring. It was a wet one, right?
Yeah, turn of events from quali. That was obviously dry. Yeah, it started raining just half an hour before the start of race 1. But yeah, happy with the win. Obviously, in these conditions, the start, especially for having a standing start, it determines so much how the rest of the race is going to go. And fortunately, I had a good launch off the line and was able to take the lead, obviously, into the first corner. And from then on, it was just smooth sailing. It's really hard to follow here with the spray. So yeah, clinched the victory, and yeah, happy.
Sailing was the right word. There was a lot of fight behind you, but you were not concerned.
Yeah, I was unaware. It was progressively raining more and more, and I could obviously tell that in the laps and driving that I was getting trickier. But thankfully, I had the big margins, so I could just relax, and yeah, I'll soak up this win and focus on tomorrow. If it's dry, I need to pick up the pace a little bit in dry, as in quali it didn't really go my way today. But you know, race 1 victory is a decent comeback from the summer break. So happy.
Well done.
Well, let's see how he did it. It wasn't great style, but first and foremost, Jose Garfias not getting a great start whatsoever. Just could not seem to get it out of first. Was actually covering off a few drivers in behind, sank through the field. Benavides, though, would take the lead coming through turn 1 with Simonazzi in behind. Looked like he was in the midst of a 3-car scrap as they battled up the hill towards turn 3. Edward Pearson was down in third, but he had to do battle as well with Michael Shin. Levente Ravesh and he would also come together coming through turns 1, but Ravesh would have to forego the position. As they made their way up, though, towards turn 3 this time, Pearson would fight back against Ravesh on the run through towards turn 4. They then sprinted once more up towards turn 1, and again this time, though, Pearson would be successful. A very sharp turn up the inside, coming through turn 1 in dynamic fashion, managed to rotate the 320 Delara in great style. Again, though, he would be on the attack of fellow cars up the road as he then went toe-to-toe with Francesco Simonazzi in his BVM Delara 320 chassis. A better run offered to Edward Pearson, and he had the move one and done heading in towards Slosh Gold. Though there was a very close moment with Michael Shin very nearly careering into the back of Francesco Simonazzi. That opened the door for Levente Ravesh to move up into 4th. And then a dazzling move around the outside by the Hungarian to move himself into the podium places around Roshenworth curve was in offer, but no stopping Brad Benavides. 7th win of the season, 15th podium, championship inbound. So there we have it, trophy presentation now in full procedure. Levente Ravesh in third after a fantastic move on Simonazzi heading around the middle sector. And of course, a fantastic second place for Edward Pearson. Brad Benavides standing tall on the top. As always, great day for Motor Park, but more importantly, great day for Edward Pearson, I would say, on debut.
Absolutely, really impressive performance. Of course, the Motor Park representative on the left-hand side, FIFA joining for the rookie representative as well. And now we'll hear the American National Anthem. Hand on heart there, Brad Benavides, patriotic as ever, and hearing his national anthem many times this season as Jesus Pereira hands over the third place trophy to Levente Ravesh. That's 8th podium finish for Levente Ravesh so far this season. Having in Paul Ricard, who's actually on the podium in all 3 races, so he's got off to a good start for this one to repeat that feat.
Yeah, to come in straight away from Paul Ricard, obviously he would take a first win of the season back at Paul Ricard in race 3 and to follow it up straight away with a podium. It means that he's gone 4 in succession now off the back of that, which is a fantastic feat for him, because consistency was probably the issue through the majority of the racing so far this campaign. Motor Park lifting the team's trophy aloft. And yeah, like you so rightly said, Brad Benavides' national anthem becoming the theme of the series so far. But Fernando Barrichello also accepting the Rookie Winners' Prize. Obviously had that moment coming through the final section of the race.
But we'll start tomorrow's reverse grid race from pole position with that 6th place finish. So that should be very interesting. Not for the first time this season, of course, but be very tough job for the Brazilian to keep a hold of that one.
Absolutely right, folks. Well, with that brings an end to the first day at Red Bull Ring. We're back tomorrow for more racing for the Euroformula. We'll see you then. Goodbye.